Hi everyone, I'm Todd Banner. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about 4K live cropping. This is a feature in the Lumix cameras that I use that allow you to do kind of zooms and pans in the camera with the camera mounted on a tripod and not moving the camera at all. So essentially, when you set it to the setting, you get a 4K frame and you essentially crop in to that frame and you get a full HD or 1080p crop. And you can set a start point and an end point so that, again, you get a pan or a zoom or a combination of both. Now, that's the kind of thing that you can actually do in post in most video editors. Even iMovie has what's called the Ken Burns effect, which does the same thing. And you have to remember that the resulting footage is 1080p. So if you're shooting a lot of 4K and you use this feature, you're going to have some 1080p footage that you're going to have to upscale to 4K. If you're shooting 1080p, which is what I do, it's not a problem because even when you have the camera set to 1080p and you set it to 4K live cropping, it will give you the 4K full frame and then crop in on it, resulting in 1080p. So essentially, to do this, you set the camera to movie mode using the mode dial and then click on the menu button. And you'll see 4K live cropping as one of the choices. When you click on that, you're going to get a choice of either 20 seconds or 40 seconds. So you are limited to that. If you do this type of thing in post, obviously you can do it with any length clip. So when you select either of those, you're going to get two boxes on your screen, the start box and the end box, and you can move those around with your finger. And you can also adjust the size using the top back dial on the camera. And once you have the start box where you want it, you press set on the screen. It shows up in the lower right of the screen, so you can just touch that with your finger on it. And you'll get the ending box, and so you can move that box to where you want it and also adjust the size of the box using the top back dial of the camera. And then you simply press the shutter and you'll get a 20 or 40 second clip where it pans and zooms from the start point that you set to the end point that you set. So question is, what's better? I'm not sure. I kind of like setting it up in camera because when I'm looking at a scene and I see something with leading lines, you know, when you frame a picture, a lot of times you want to have leading lines in the picture. When you're framing your video, you can do the same things and you can set it up to follow leading lines into an area of interest. So not that you can't do that in post, but for some reason I actually like doing it when I'm at the scene. Doesn't mean that I don't do it in post otherwise, because sometimes I'll have something where I didn't use that feature and I think, oh, maybe that would look good here. So what I've done now is I have some footage that I shot out in our garden of one of our ubiquitous purple coneflowers showing this. And then after that, a few weeks ago, our spring drought ended suddenly. We got deluged. As a matter of fact, I think in a previous video, I mentioned a tornado warning in the city of Chicago to our east. Evidently, there had been a storm, a rotating storm that had the potential to spawn a tornado. Little did I know that while I was filming that video, there was water coming up in our basement. It wasn't too bad. We have a dehumidifier. Had to dry things out. All of that rain meant that the waterfalls at Starved Rock State Park were in full flow. So a day after that rain stopped, I made the hour-and-a-half drive over there and took a walk into a couple of the canyons and took some footage using the 4K live crop feature. Also took some footage where I didn't do that and cropped it using the Ken Burns effect in iMovie. And also I have a couple of clips that I shot with my iPhone 12 Pro Max, including a slow motion clip, which the iPhone does very well. And also the stabilization on the iPhone is pretty amazing. Now, however, if you have a discerning eye, you will notice the iPhone clip, you can see in the highlights of the falling water that the dynamic range is not as good as what the camera can do. And that's even with the high dynamic range ability of the iPhone. It's just not quite as good as this camera. For a phone, it's really amazing, but the camera is still better. So have a look at this. So here we are out in the garden using the Lumix G9 with Lumix 35-100 f2.8 lens and the Canon 550D close-up attachment lens. And you can see that when you use this 4K live crop, you can zoom really close in on the disc of the flower. Here we're zooming back out. One thing to be aware of, and you can see here that it's not refocusing on the disc as we move back out. So be aware of that. And now let's go to Starved Rock. Well, I hope you enjoyed viewing that as much as I enjoyed shooting it. That is really a wonderful place. We're lucky to have that so close to Chicago. So if this was interesting, helpful, please like and subscribe. If you have comments, questions, suggestions, feel free to leave them below. I read all my comments. And I'll be putting more content up in the near future. So I will see you next time.